good, mi gente? Welcome to By the Block PR's Blockcast. This is our second episode. Just for people who don't know out there, my name is Krystal. I'm the founder of By the Block PR, where we guide, inspire, and empower Puerto Rican diaspora who are thinking about coming back home. Today's episode is a special one. It's entitled 10 Things to First Consider When Thinking About Relocating to PR. If you're dreaming about returning to Puerto Rico, but you have no idea where to start, this episode is for you. So if you haven't been back since childhood, or you're just starting to explore the idea, I'm going to break it all down for you with real talk, real stats, and real steps to help you come back with clarity and intention in this episode. Now, this is very important to me because when I set out to create this page and this series, I wanted to make sure that I was inspiring people to find true connection with the island, not just to move back and make fast money off of it. So this is really going to help plant those seeds for you for a shift in mindset so that when you do move back, because you will, you'll do it in a way that contributes back to the island and the community and really helps make PR a better place without aiming to gentrify it. So let's jump right in to the first thing to consider when relocating back to PR. Let's start off with a stat. According to a 2022 report, over 70% of people returning from the diaspora cite cultural adjustment as one of their top unexpected challenges. So really what this says to me is that a lot of people take for granted the fact that, yes, we are Puerto Ricans from the diaspora. We have many of the same, cultural practices and ties and all of those things. However, it's not the same as growing up and living in PR. It's not going to be like New York. It's not going to be like Orlando. You really have to prepare your mindset and your lifestyle for the changes that are really going to take place once you do move back. It's not just a physical relocation. I like to tell people, think about it like this. It's an emotional, a cultural one, and definitely a spiritual one if you allow it to be. And it's about allowing yourself to be both new and native, right? You're native in that you're reconnecting with the island and all of these things that you missed out on or maybe are familiar with, but maybe are not familiar with, but you're also new. And so you've got to go back again with that shift in your mindset that you're going to humble yourself and really allow the island and the people on the island to teach you and guide you on the many different things that you're going to encounter so that you can be successful and that you can thrive when you go back. One of the things you need to understand and consider is that not everything is digital and databases are very, very limited. We are very used to convenience living in the States, right? Convenience is something that is very big to us over here. And unfortunately, there are a lot of things in PR that are still manual processes. So there are a lot of things that are still on paper. There are a lot of websites that are not helpful or have not been updated. It is not as simple as going on a website or an app to get something done. So you're gonna have to retrain your brain to understand that you may spend more time than you normally do on the phone and in lines. Listen, for me, it's a trade-off, but if you're going there expecting things to be as easy or as simple or as fast as they are here, they're absolutely not. Another thing you need to consider is how you move your money. There's no Cash App or Zelle on the island, right? They have their own version of it. But again, you're going to have to sign up. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to create a bank account over there because things work just a little bit differently. So a few tips that I have. Reflect on your why. Think about why you really want to go back to Puerto Rico. Is it that you want a completely different lifestyle change? Okay, that's one thing. Or are there certain conveniences that you like here that you don't want changed? And then again, that's going to guide your experience and really where you live on the island. So let go of that nostalgia. It's not all beaches and sunset. It does get very real, but you've got to make sure that you're prepared to adapt. The second thing to consider when thinking about moving to Puerto Rico is that you want to visit and you want to visit often and you want to visit like if you're relocating. Okay, so here's a stat for you. Only 25% of returning diaspora who relocate permanently had visited their future town more than once before moving. That's insane to me. Before you commit, take a scouting trip. I did this just in March. I took 10 days for myself and I drove the entire island, literally the whole island, and stopped in little towns here and there so that I could get a feel for the differences. And I'll be honest with you, there are many differences in resources and infrastructure, in just customs and traditions that every little town has. And so when you go back, you need to go back often. I have spent all of my PTO this year and last year making trips to Puerto Rico because I intentionally want to move there eventually sometime soon. And I suggest that if this is something that's truly a priority for you, then take that time off that you have and start to go back. Go back often, and go back for longer periods of time. You don't just want to go back for a weekend. You want to go back for a week, 10 days, 14 days, 2 weeks, because you want to live like a local. You want to do the things like grocery shopping, or washing your clothes in a laundromat if you don't have a washer or a dryer. Those everyday life things that we do here, you want to do a little bit of that over there. So you really truly get a feel for what it's like. Some tips that I can give you: stay in a local neighborhood. So not just a hotel or outside of the touristy area, especially if you don't plan on living in a very touristy or metro area. Grocery shop, run errands, work on the internet for long periods of time. We all know that as you spend more extended time in Puerto Rico, you're going to experience a power outage. Really understand what that truly, truly feels like. Take note of things like water pressure, drive time to certain places, because those can be really different. Again, you want to prepare your mind for the changes that are going to occur in your lifestyle. But for me, they're all always worth it. But for some people, they may not be. So you just want to prepare for that. The third thing that you want to consider when thinking about moving to Puerto Rico is to, in advance, design your lifestyle and choose your location. And I'll tell you why that's important. Listen to this stat. A 2023 relocation survey showed 65% of returnees, 65%, y'all, ended up moving towns within their first 18 months after realizing their initial area wasn't the right fit. You don't want to be one of those people, okay? So make sure that you really design the lifestyle that you want. What is important to you? What is not important to you? Write out your ideal weekday or weekend, right? Do you like to be near a yoga studio? Do you like to be near nightlife? Do you like to be in the middle of nature with neighbors, no neighbors? All of these things are going to make a difference for you. Let your lifestyle guide your location and not just the beauty of where you go and see, because again, you might think that you want to live in a coastal town, but many coastal towns are touristy. And so are you prepared for that touristy lifestyle? Some people want to get away from it. Some people don't. Everybody's different. There's no right or wrong. Again, consider the type of lifestyle that you want to live, and then visit often to a place that you think might give you that lifestyle. The number 4 thing you want to consider when moving to Puerto Rico is your budget and the cost of living and your income. So listen to this stat. In 2023, Puerto Rico imported 56.3 billion in goods and services, driving up the cost of most mainland brands. Okay. By comparison, the U.S. only imported 30. This is 56.3. So this is almost double of that, which means that a lot of things in Puerto Rico can be really affordable, and some things in Puerto Rico can actually be more expensive than here. A lot of their food that they import is very expensive. Now, expensive is relative to where you're coming from. I live in New York City. This is probably the most expensive place on the earth. So when I go to Puerto Rico, things are radically cheaper than they are here. But if you come from another place outside of New York City where the cost of living and goods is probably cheaper, maybe going to Puerto Rico is going to be more expensive. So in every area that you can and you're able to consider, look at the cost, compare the cost of things, or maybe your groceries are going to be cheaper, but your light bill is going to be more expensive. Your car insurance might be more expensive. What's the price of a car to buy one over there versus shipping it? It's actually very expensive to ship cars over. So when thinking about, your budget, your cost of living, I always tell people, if you have a remote job that pays you a great salary, don't go give it up to move to Puerto Rico, because unfortunately the salary there and the wages are very low. So if you can maintain that salary and move there, you'll be in a better position than if you just give it up and try to find the same job in the same industry over there. It might be different. So Ask people questions. What is the deposit for when you open an account with Luma and you need to turn on the electricity? What is the process for getting your license and the cost associated with it and all those things? What is car insurance like over there? And a lot of these topics we'll actually explore in future episodes, but I just want to make sure that you start to think about it now, especially if you're truly thinking about relocating. Budget and how you make money are all very important. The fifth thing to consider is, I would say, this is just me giving you my advice, but I would say rent first, then buy later. So listen to this statistic, okay? 68% of newcomers who purchased without renting first reported regrets. You don't want to have regrets tied to relocation, whether it was the weather or the community fit, the ease of getting services, all those things. That's a big number, 68%, okay? You don't want to be one of these people. You want to go there fully prepared, fully understanding what it's like, what the cost is like, what the community is like, as much as you can. Now, there are just some things that you're not going to be able to figure out until you live there. But the things that you can figure out before you live there, definitely do that. And that's why I say rent, right? Because when you rent, you'll be able to pick up easily and maybe move to a different part. I would say do a 6 to 12 month lease, nothing longer than that, but it'll really give you a good feel for what the neighborhood is like, what services are there, what's the nightlife like, what's the everyday challenges that you might face in that neighborhood. They're different. Puerto Rico has many different regions and they're all different. The vibes are all different. So you want to make sure that you rent before you buy. So it gives you time to learn. So choose rentals with backup power also that are good for internet, because you are going to experience blackouts. And so you've got to figure out, can you live with that? And how can you live with that? If you're very accustomed to renting a place that has solar or generators or those sort of things, then when you move, you want to factor that also, right? When you buy, you want to factor that into the cost of what you're going to be purchasing, because it is a separate cost, but it is a very real reality and an absolute necessity, I think. And then use your time as you're renting to explore towns and really start to build connections and build community. That's really important, as you'll see later. The number 6 thing you want to consider before moving to Puerto Rico is transportation and driving. So here's a stat. Over 80% of Puerto Rican households own at least one vehicle, compared to just 8% of people relying on public transit. So listen, outside of San Juan in that metro area, driving is the norm. You're going to need a vehicle and you're going to need a reliable vehicle. You can ship your vehicle from the States to Puerto Rico. It is very expensive depending on the make and model. When we say expensive, we mean thousands of dollars. You may just be better off buying a car on the island. But again, remembering that everything is imported at a higher price. And so the cost of cars is actually more expensive in Puerto Rico. Some tips, budget for a reliable car. Understand that you may have to sell your car here before you move over there. So it's especially important to plan out if you have a lease and you can't terminate early. And then try to start pricing around things like car insurance. Ask people, what do you pay? Or, what's the process for buying it? Because it is all very different over there. And we don't want you stuck. All right. The 7 most important thing that you want to consider when moving to Puerto Rico, or before you move to Puerto Rico, is language and education. So let's start with the stat. As of 2022, fewer than 10% of public school students in PR receive instruction in both English and Spanish. So something I had to learn for myself, because I do have a child, is that the majority of public schools in PR do not have bilingual education. They teach in Spanish. The ones that do have bilingual ed are the private schools. What I will tell you is the private schools are very expensive. So again, when going back to considering your budget and those things, if you have children, a huge part of your move is going to be dictated by the school system and some of the language needs that you and your family might have. The other thing that you need to consider with the school system is that if you have a child who has any type of special needs, whether they're on the spectrum or anything like that, those services are not readily available in PR. It's not like the States where every child gets an IEP and they are guaranteed services. Even in the private schools that are the most amazing private schools over there, they might not have a special education program. So just prepare yourself for that, because I hate to deter anybody from moving to the island. But when it comes to this topic in particular, I have spoke to many parents who have moved to the island, and I've heard the good and the bad, especially of any sort of special education that's out there. So just start to do your research. and really consider whether it's the right move for you now, maybe in the future when your child has graduated. But school is a very important one, especially for parents. And language, immerse yourself in that language right now. Start to learn a little bit of Spanish. Google those Bad Bunny lyrics because it will all help you learn and understand, get some of the basic essential language down before you go, but never be afraid to speak Spanish. There are many English speakers on the island, but it is going to be an adjustment if you don't know anything and you're not interested in learning it. Yes, there are people who live there for years and they thrive without ever learning Spanish. You don't want to be one of them. Okay? Perfect. The number 8 most important thing to consider when relocating to PR is the healthcare and just the infrastructure in general. Let's hit you with that. The Puerto Rico Energy Bureau reported over 3,000 blackout events across the island in 2023, lasting from 30 minutes to multiple days. We just saw a huge blackout maybe a month ago, and then at the end of the year. So blackouts are real. Water turning off is real. You want to make sure that you understand that. Not being able to find a specialist on the island if you have any special conditions is real. Many people fly outside of Puerto Rico to get some of these specialties that they need. Just think about, where you live. If you need to be near a hospital, what are the better hospitals in Puerto Rico? Some are great, some are not great. So just start to do your research on that, especially if your loved one has a chronic condition, because that really could impact where you move or even if you move, to be honest. The number 9 thing that you should consider before moving to Puerto Rico are any of the legal, property, and inheritance laws. All right, here's a stat for you. Roughly 40% of property in Puerto Rico is held through untitled inheritance, which can delay or block sales and renovations. Puerto Rico functions under what they call civil law, not U.S. common law. So they have their own laws, they have their own rules. Inheritance is one of them. Where it's really affected a lot are like contracts and real estate. So when you're thinking about buying real estate, when you see all of these abandoned homes and you're like, oh my God, I need to buy one of these, just understand that there can be very real legal implications if you don't do the proper things to protect yourself, because it doesn't work like here in New York. So for example, the inheritance laws, it doesn't matter what your will says. Should you pass, your property, 2/3 of it now belongs to your family. And so until they work it all out amongst each other, nobody can do anything with that property, which is why you see a lot of properties sit. So my tips for you, get a title study before touching anything, including lands. If you're going to buy land, you need to fly over there and go look at that land, get it surveyed first, because there are a lot of things that people don't understand, especially about buying land in Puerto Rico. You want to make sure you hire someone who's local, a notary, an attorney, not just somebody stateside who tells you they think they know the laws in Puerto Rico and they don't. And never trust verbal agreements that you make over there with anyone. There are a lot of scams that happen out there. Yes, listen, I live in New York. This is the land of scams as well. But no matter where you go, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Get a reputable realtor, somebody who is licensed. There are many people who sell property and they're not licensed. So you want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up to be scammed, honey. And number 10, the last that you need to consider when moving to Puerto Rico is community, connection, and giving. A 2023 survey found that 74% of long-term returnees credited community involvement as their key to success in their transition. You need community to thrive in Puerto Rico, okay? This is not just about going back. It's about reconnecting. We want to build with the community, not over the community. And the community are the ones who are really going to teach you how to survive and thrive out there. They're going to know all the connections, the tips, the tricks, the offices, all of those things that you need to learn. They're going to be able to help you with that. You also want to be able to get involved. There's so many social movements, political movements right now that people can get involved with. There's so many areas of need. But again, you want to go there humbly. I say volunteer, listen, follow these pages on social media so that you understand what the political climate is over there. You understand what are some of the pain points that local people are going through. In any way that you can, always support local businesses and vendors. You want to make sure that you're reinvesting your money back into the island and get involved in those cultural or neighborhood initiatives that you see going on. Puerto Rico can use all the help and all the hands that it gets. Go there with a heart willing to give and not just take, because Truly, that is the most important thing. So that wraps up our top 10 things to consider when relocating to Puerto Rico. I hope you found some of this information useful. We'll be providing resources on many of these things and going into much more in-depth discussion about these subtopics. But right now, I just wanted to plant that seed for you. Start to do your research, start to join groups, start to follow social pages, and really start to plan so that when you do go, you can be successful and you can thrive and you can inspire others to do the same. As always, I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Blockcast.